is sick. Greg Gaines will be out with his elbow. And then we'll keep Matthew Stafford out. We'll put him in the concussion protocol. What ended up happening was, Reggie and his group doing their kind of cleanup after the game. You ask the questions and you do the right follow-ups and determine that they felt like that was the best thing for him. And that's kind of where we're at with it. It's more importantly about, the person than the player and these types of things, as we know. And nobody's more of a competitor and wanting to be out there with his teammates than Matthew. He's in the protocol, so we'll take it a day at a time with him. And that was what our medical experts determined, just based on some of the things that they gathered was the smart and the right course of action.
As you guys went through that process, was anyone able to ascertain how it happened or what happened?
Really, it was more of just how they got it communicated to me was them doing kind of their follow-ups after the game, Jordan, and that was, kind of determine what they thought was the best course of action. And obviously, you guys know what a competitor Matthew is, and that was kind of what was communicated to me.
Who will take the ones reps in practice?
Well, today, really, it's kind of all stuff that we're working through. Obviously, because he's in that protocol, still anticipating and having the, optimistic approach that there's a possibility, that he'll be ready to go. But it'll be, both those guys will get opportunities.
And just to be clear, I was specifically just talking about the ones reps because he's not able to participate.
We only have really one rep, so we don't have two reps, during these types of situations. So John's been, our backup, but really the plan is we'll take it a day at a time with Matthew and see where we go.
And then last one for me, Sean.
No, that's not why.
Just what day did he end up entering the protocol?
When is it? I don't know specifics today.
Today. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
That is not why we had a walkthrough. Later on in the season, the amount of snaps that we had on special teams and on defense, some of the different moving parts with a lot of the injuries that we have offensively. And so, this time of the year, there's never, you always want to get as much work as you possibly can, but kind of balancing what you think is best and how to get guys turned over. We can get a lot of really good above the neck work with the way that our guys know how to be able to walk through, be able to really hit it good tomorrow and then on Friday as well.
Did you have any indication during the game, Sean, that he was, woozy or anything like that?
I did not, no.
So does this come as a surprise to you? Or?
Really what you do is you just kind of take it in stride. And so ultimately it's really the doctor's, job to be able to kind of ask those questions, gather that information, and then be able to make those decisions based on the protocols and the different things that they think are in best alignment for the person. And that's kind of where we're at with that.
With David Edwards, when he had his issue, he self-reported, according to you, and brought it.
Sure.
Is that the same thing that happened with Stafford?
No, it's really to be able to get too granular with it. It was more about, Reggie and his group kind of communicating. You obviously talked to Matthew, but exactly, how we got to that point. It was ultimately, the doctor's decisions just based on asking, the specific questions that they go through. I kind of stay in my lane, listen, and kind of understand the follow-ups where you're supporting guys. But I think the most important thing is, with these types of situations, it's always about player and safety health first and foremost. Nobody wants to be out there more than Matthew Stafford. Nobody's a greater competitor, tougher that I've ever been around. And so, however it was in terms of some of the questions that were asked that led to getting to this point, that would be really for the doctors to be able to answer better than me.
And how confident are you that if you have to go to John Wolford that he can do the job?
I'm confident. We're not going to be ready to rule anything out. I know Matthew's going to do everything in his power to try to be able to be ready, and we'll see. We'll just take it a day at a time. But John's a guy that when he's been in these situations, he's stepped in and done a really good job. And it wasn't too long ago that he had to come in a game that we had to have to be able to get into the playoffs, and he performed incredibly well.
Just to clarify too, because when David had one of his concussions, the first one, I believe, he mentioned that it happened during the practice portion and not the game portion. So just to be absolutely clear, it's under you guys' knowledge that it happened in the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Sean, when we talked with you yesterday or Monday and asked about injuries, you said at that time you had not spoken with Reggie.
Correct.
So you were not aware of this?
I was not. No, I was not aware of this, and this is all fairly new.
Sean, you want to focus on the human side and make sure Matthews is okay, but how do you balance that where you don't rush him back in such a critical game too?
Well, I think, you put the priority where it's about the person first. I mean, this is so important, but when you think about it in the big picture, it's a temporary moment in time. And so, he's got a beautiful family, wife, four daughters. There's a lot of other responsibilities that these guys have that is first and foremost about, all right, well, how do we, with our doctors, our medical, how do you let the experts be the experts and protect these guys? Because in a lot of instances, these players are going to want to go and do everything in their power to be out there and play with their teammates. And sometimes you got to take the decision out of their hands based on the information and the feedback that you're gathering by asking those right questions. You guys ask kind of what exactly are those? That is really not, I don't know exactly what those things were, but I have total trust and confidence to let people do their job. And that was the determination that was made based on some of those things that they got after they did kind of, your unpacking after the game.
Been here for 4 seasons now. It's a long tenure for a back.
Sure.
What is it about him that you've been so confident in over the years, and why you've kept him around this long?
It's the competitiveness, the way that he approaches every single day. Football is really important to him, Greg. I think he's got a great ability, too. He's got the athleticism, but he's got the ability to be able to, make a lot of the different types of throws. I think his teammates rally around him, and he's got a great mastery and ownership of what we're really trying to get done. And, there's moving parts to kind of what we've done year in and year out. This year has obviously been a unique year in and of itself, but there's still some foundational elements that, are very comfortable and familiar for John.
What would have to happen with Kyron Williams to get back for you guys in the game?
I think there's a good chance that he'll be up this week. He's had really good, steady progress, Sarah. Whether it's this week or next week, you're kind of running, pretty low on that 21-day clock. But the anticipation and expectation is that if he continues to trend in the direction that he's gone these last couple weeks, that he'll be playing on Sunday.
With Coleman being activated, are you expecting him to immediately have a role? And are you thinking that would be on the left side or the right side?
Working through those things, but yes, he'll have a role. He's been a really good, productive player for us on the interior parts of the line. So if he's ready to go, he'll be out there.
Given that you've said how you've had more stuff happen, this year than maybe the last 5 combined.
What would you say to that? You can't not agree with that, right?
The latest.
You've been here all 6 years, Gary. This has been some stuff, huh?
The latest with, Stafford and a concussion probably, or I shouldn't say probably, but possibly not
Sure.
playing on Sunday. For you as the head coach, is this just another layer of stuff?
It is, and really, you don't want to have to go through this, but you guys have heard me say it. Man has this stretched you in ways that you're going to be better for it if you handle it the right way. You don't want to have to go through some of these types of things, but when you do, this is what you sign up for, and you got to be able to do the things. It's so easy to get up there and preach about the mental toughness, the resilience, staying in the moment, not, letting the outside-in narrative affect your ability to be able to move forward, and it's really easy to do that when things are going good, but when you're actually tested, man, is that an opportunity to find out how you really handle it. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about the people that you're around. You learn a lot about that you're not in it by yourself, that you're with other people that are continuing to try to do the right things to get yourself out of this little rut and really to truly be process-oriented. I think at the end of the day, all you can do is compete to the best of your ability. And I know this. We have high expectations and standards, but all we can do is say, hey, let's try to look at what our role is, whether that be coaches or players, compete, approach it with an enthusiasm, a hardworking mindset and mentality, embrace these challenges that accompany with it. And what else the hell can you do? And that's really the truth, and you got to be continuously talking to yourself and not listening to yourself when you do go through some of these times. But it has been challenging, but I know this. The way that our guys have approached this, they want to be able to get, different results. Everybody wants to try to be able to get different results, but I have been motivated and so encouraged by the way that these guys have continually come back and responded the right way, which you don't know and you can't really learn about people unless you go through some of these types of things. And so, am I ever saying that you want to accept not having better results as it relates to when we're going out and playing? No, I don't want that to ever get misunderstood. But these opportunities and this adversity does provide an opportunity to learn about people and to really be challenged, in ways that you wouldn't be stretched otherwise. And so I'm choosing to take the mindset and the mentality that we're going to keep swinging. We're not going to be afraid to look at the things that we need to adjust, but we're also going to compete to the best of our ability so that when you look at yourself, whether it's our players, coaches, you look yourself in the mirror and you say, hey, did I do everything in my power to try to help get us out of this? And do I have the mental stamina and endurance to continue to swing even if I don't get the result? And if you can say yes to that, there's going to be great growth that occurs that we're going to be better for. And I choose to feel that way, and I think it is a choice that you have to be able to make. And sometimes you need to be able to lean on the people that you love and care about to help you maintain that, that resilience and that mindset. And if we do that, I think it's going to lead to some things going in a better direction. What exactly does that look like? I don't know. I'm just going to continue to try to attack those things the right way every single day.
Last one. We got walk through.
Thank you. Just because the conversation about the spotting process and in-game situations like this has been discussed so much around the league, especially this year.
Yep.
At what point as an organization, and kind of can you shed light on the process of, do you guys go back and revisit the sequencing of that?
Yeah, so here's what I would say. Whether it was, I don't know if it was exactly a hit. There was certain things in terms of when you ask the questions coming out of a game about how you're feeling, whether there was a specific instance in that game, I can't, confirm, exactly what that entailed in terms of the dialogue, Jordan. What I know is that when you talk to Reggie and his group, some of the questions and then what they ascertained as a result of those questions made them feel like, hey, the appropriate thing for the person and the player in this instance is to put him in the protocol. Whether or not that means he has a concussion or not isn't for me to truly understand, but there's the necessary steps that we need to take. It would be consistent no matter what. There's obviously been a heightened awareness as a result of some of the things that we've seen occur in this league. But that was kind of my understanding of how this came about. Now, are there instances that you could point to when you're just looking at Matthew over the course of playing quarterback and some of the hits that he's taken that you could make a guess, which is all it would really be, is a guess on when that could have occurred? I think you could take any of our 8 games, and there's probably, certain situations that you could say, all right, based on those types of things, maybe it could, maybe it couldn't. But I would be speaking from an uneducated perspective if I really, dove any deeper than that. Okay? Thanks, guys.